Alright, this regular meeting of the Luray Town Council will now come to order. Please stand and join me for a moment of silence. This Councilman Pettit, please stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Daniel, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Alpine?
Here.
Mr. Vickers?
Here.
Mr. Lord? Here. Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. Pettit?
Here.
Mr. Sauer?
Here.
Mr. Webb?
Here.
Okay, are there any additions to or deletions from the agenda? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the following consent agenda. The minutes of the regular council meeting of October the 10th, 2023, minutes of the regular work session, October 24th, 2023, and accounts payable totaling $416,128.21.
Second.
Discussion? Daniel?
Mr. Lord?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Sauer?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Okay, no one signed up for citizen comment. Does anyone here want to speak on anything other than the public hearing we have scheduled? Okay, moving on. Ms. Elliott, LDN.
Good evening, Council and Mr. Mayor. Good to see you. Couple of things. Our trick or treat event this year was a huge success. So many positive comments from parents. Parents who were saying, this is great. We were able to come. Our kid got a bag of candy. We're going to go home and watch a Halloween movie. It was safe, and people were just very, very pleased. Merchants come back. Their response to it was all very, very positive. The organizations that joined us were all very pleased. I know that the VFW Post took some photos, and they're going to be featured in the VFW magazine. Susan shared that with us the other night at our meeting. So we were really excited about that. And again, as always, a huge thank you to the town of Luray, to our Parks and Rec crew, our folks at PACA, to the LDI board, and our volunteers. Much appreciated. And the support of you, Mr. Vickers, and you, Mayor, and Alex, for judging the costume contest. Ms. Lord, did you judge this year? I couldn't remember.
I did not.
They're making you work on too much. But, so at any rate, we're really, really tickled about that. Real quick, November 25th, Shop Small is underway. We're getting all of the information out to the shop owners, poster signs, all the swag that goes with that, to get that for November 25th. This Thursday, Virginia Main Street will be here. They're coming back for the wrap up with the transformation strategies and for us to go over it and to work with me on my work plan for implementing it into 2024 and 2025. So we had a meeting a couple weeks ago. The face of Main Street America is changing. The accreditation process is changing. We are getting, and as that information comes in, I'll be sharing that with you via your packets, just so that you know what the new accreditation standards are going to look like, the data bonanza, and so on and so forth. But we are very much looking at economic development impact. We're taking more of an economic development focus where LDI and other organizations like us, it's kind of been all about fundraising and, we're planning like cash parties and those types of events. Now we're partnering with events, but we're also looking at recruiting businesses and all of that. And all of that data is going to the General Assembly. This is all stuff that's coming down from Governor Youngkin. So I think it's a good thing because I think it helps us keep our Main Street strong, and that's what we want to do for many more years. So as that comes in, I will share that. If anybody wants to be here in Chambers on Thursday at 1 to listen to the transformation strategies information, you are more than welcome to come. I know that I'll be inviting our board of directors. And then, like I said, it probably should last about an hour. And then, of course, I'll be working with the folks from Main Street on the work plan for the Luray Downtown Initiative. And we will have shop late December 8th, shop till 8 on December 8th. And other than that, we're just getting ready for December 1st for the Christmas tree lighting. We're excited about that. It looks like we're going to have another nice event, and we're going to have some surprises, hopefully, for our community. So we're looking forward to that. And Mayor and Vice Mayor have agreed that they're going to light the tree for us this year. So we're appreciative of that.
What are the hours on the shop light?
Until 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
Yep, it's all day until 8 p.m.
The 8th.
Yes, on the 8th. Shop late till 8 on the 8th. How about that?
All right, anybody have any questions for Ms. Ellie?
Jeff, I believe I mentioned on Thursday, I will not be able to join.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll be traveling.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
follow up tonight if I can.
Absolutely, that
Need
sounds
more
great.
pets to get dressed up.
Yes.
I only had 2 this year.
And I know that we talked a little bit, Steve and I have talked a little bit, but I don't think we've really gone over it with Jen yet, but maybe next year, maybe moving it back a little bit, having it maybe start at 5:30 as opposed to 5, just to give parents a little more time to get things done, because if they're trying to dress the child, they probably don't have time to dress the pet. So maybe if we give them a little more time, maybe we can get more. But I know that people were just thrilled with the comments were just so positive, which is what we want to hear. And I loved hearing how safe parents felt for their children. That is huge. Especially in this world of madness that we live in. It's nice to know that people felt like they were in a safe place. So that's good.
Hey, Jackie, Clancy has something to say back there.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
I just wanted to add, for the shop small, it's going to be the day after Thanksgiving, but it's going to run all the way through December 17th. And for every single person who participates in shopping small, if they take their receipt, keep it, bring it to the chamber, it's going to go into a drawing, and they have an opportunity to win $500. But the whole thing is to expanding it from the day after all the way to the 17th, in hopes that we can really want people to come and spend their money here in our town. And one other little thing, just one other thing, from what Jackie said in working at the chamber, you cannot believe the comments that people shared with us about how safe and how much they appreciated being able to be in downtown and have no vehicles, nothing. It's crazy what people were saying. So thank you all for making sure that happened. You created an incredible event and a safe one. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you, Claire.
I also want to commend LDI on the fact that at the Virginia Municipal League, and Steve was there, and Mayor was there, and Mr. Vickers was there, like sitting in the Main Street session, we were an example, and we were just kind of going back and forth saying, well, we do that, we do that, we do that, every time they brought up a best practice. So that's something to be proud of.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Thank you, Alice.
Anybody else?
Well, I do, it's been a while since I've asked. Any updates on the properties, the theater, and the name escapes me.
The Browns building,
Yes.
they have been in there doing work, but it's slow.
Okay.
But they've been
It's been a
working.
while.
Yeah,
I love
no,
it.
I don't, but they have, no, it's fine. They have been in there and they have been doing some work.
Yeah, I've seen them in there, so I was
It's,
curious.
yeah, so I know, I look every day. Yeah. So, yeah, and as you all may or may not know, the Art Warehouse, they have put the for sale sign, the banner for the realtor went up on that. So that's up, and that is up for sale, so I'm hoping that we can find someone that we can make that work for.
How about Alexander's? Any update on that? Fire?
Motel.
Motel? Restaurant?
No updates on that. I'm not sure. I think that for them, I think it's just a matter of getting the repairs done and getting someone in to get those repairs done. I think that has been a big hiccup for a lot of people. I hear a lot of people telling me that getting it work done. Jennifer and I met with the folks that own the old Lord Fairfax Annex. We met with those gentlemen last week to discuss staging the Christmas parade in that parking lot to make the staging area be there. And we were talking with them, and they said just with them trying to get people in there to do the repairs and the upgrades and things that they need in order to bring people into that building, they've had to really struggle with them.
Did I see the Uncle Thompson buildings in the auction?
It was, yes, sir.
It was, do you know who bought it?
No, sir. I kind of do, but I kind of don't, and I can't say.
Okay.
Do you understand? I don't want to lie to you, but I just at this point can't elaborate.
Understood.
Anybody else? Yeah, thank you very much. Just thank you for what you do.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you all, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too. Okay, Arise.
Well, good evening. I wanted to thank Alex for putting us on the agenda tonight, and
Had some help on that. Had some help on that.
absolutely. But we appreciate that very much. We have had a few changes, and we wanted to make you aware of them. First of all, we lost our president, Ed Sedgwick, back at the end of the summer. And the board felt like I'd be a good choice as the new president, so I stand before you as president of Arise. Also, I made quite a few changes since I've been president. One of the most important changes was to alter the board a bit by appointing some vice presidents and giving them direct jobs. And the most important one is standing right beside me, and that's Lois. She came on board because we kept running into each other doing practically the same thing. So I said, how would you like to join us and do it under our umbrella with a small budget? And of course, she said yes. She always says yes. She's going to have some comments about our new outreach program. But before we do that, I wanted to give you a sense of what we did last year and what we're trying to do this year. Last year, over 150 days, we fed an average of 56 people a day. This year, that same average is 92 a day. That's a big jump. The amount of people that are asking for help has doubled, easily doubled. And currently we're up to 100 meals a day. And that's where I have to stop it because we don't have enough transportation to get it out. These are hot meals, healthy meals, meals that people would normally have to pay $5, $6, $7, $8 for a meal. Currently, last year we spent 73 cents per meal. A lot of donated food, all volunteers. This year, thanks to Lois, our costs have come down. She's gotten some donated protein, which is very important. We always make sure that our clients get a very healthy protein-infused meal because sometimes it's their only meal. So when you think, I was asked by Mr. Sowers about how many people in Luray are getting our food services, and it's 58 clients a day. And so that translates out to 174, 75 a week. That figure has jumped up. The other people are in the county, and we hold it to the county and Stanley, and we don't go to Shenandoah because we just don't get a lot of call for people out there. There is a need, but we limit it to this area. A lot of people come to Luray for health services, the hospital, Northwestern, very important, and also, frankly, employment. Now, when you translate what we did last year to round figures, 140 families that come in and sought help. And that number-wise is about 423 people when you consider their dependents. This year, as of Thursday of last week, we had served 11,217 meals so far this year. Last year was 8,341. So that also describes and shows a jump in people that are hungry. Now, we're not just talking homeless people here, we're talking seniors, veterans, anybody who's hungry. They call us, we feed them, we take it to them. So it's a big service. And I felt like the money we were spending on putting people in motels, this is a lot more efficient in helping people on a daily basis. When you're hungry, you can't think. When you're hungry, you're colder or you're hotter, depending on the weather. It's a miserable feeling. And I think if you talk to people, you may have experienced it yourself, but nowadays it certainly is a much larger problem because the cost of food keeps going up higher and higher. Food stamps are going down in the amount of help that the government gives them. So it's vitally important that we help this group out. That's why we saw the need and we're trying our best to help it. We're a voluntary organization that serves homeless, seniors, families, and some of these people are living in motels. They can't afford a rent. They don't have a credit rating. They may not be able to get into an apartment. One of the biggest things that I wanted to do tonight, and I'll end with this, is support the notion, because we see it every day, and that is this community needs housing, and it needs housing for singles, single people as well as young couples starting out. Those beautiful apartments over at Luray Meadows, those are 2 and 3 bedrooms. There are no single apartments there. That was a mistake. It should have been some single apartments in there. I don't know how that happened, but if someone were to ask me, I would say, who works at Burger King? Who works at Walmart? These are single people, and they need low cost, sometimes adjusted for income places to live. That's how you keep them here in Luray. That's how you keep them here in Luray, is to give them affordable housing. So I would like to, I've talked to other realtors. I had a long talk with one of your friends about it, and he agrees, they agree, that this is a need this community has. It hasn't just cropped up, but it's gotten more acute. And the longer we go, it's gonna get more and more acute. And right now, I know people who are living in Newmarket, driving over the mountain for a job. And these people could use a nice place to stay and not have to drive that distance. Any questions about that before I turn it over to Lois here?
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to be here, see a good crowd, join everybody again. I started out with the Rise a couple months ago. Joe called and said, you know, I need a little bit of help, and I was glad to come on board because I had worked with the group in the previous years trying to get the homeless shelters started and different things. But this is such a wonderful program for a lot of people. We're out on the road taking hot meals. We're listening to what the needs are, seeing what the needs are. And it's kind of really opened my eyes with a lot of our seniors and disabled people. We're taking in the hot meals, and you can't just take in a hot meal and think you're going to leave. Everybody wants to talk, say hi, and most of them live alone, struggling to survive. Just, you know, the rent prices, the fuel prices, and, you know, I'm constantly saying, Did you sign up for the fuel program at social services? Oh, I didn't know about it. You know, different things, and taking that time, yes, it does. It takes a little time to do that, get it in for them, but also it saves them some extra funding that they can use to live on, to feed themselves, help with their meds, different issues. You know, a lot of these people are receiving $26 a month in food stamps. $26. What does that buy at the grocery store? It's hard to believe, but it happens. And just informing them of some different things that are going on in the area, things that they can use. A big issue that I'm seeing right now is also transportation. A lot of people are calling in saying, can you take me to my doctor's appointment? Can you take me to vote? Well, I'll tell you this little story. I met this lady 8 years ago, and she has been in motel lodging for 8 years, and blessings happen every day. I finally got her a room in Stanley, and she calls me up and she goes, well, I got a way to go vote. I said, oh, okay, who's taking you? She said, I called a police officer, and he's coming to get me, and he's taking me to vote. I said, wonderful. So he took her, and she has a bad knee. She can't walk a lot. He said, you don't have to get out of the car. So he picked up the phone and called and asked him to bring the ballot to her. And she was just tickled to death because it had been so many years. She'd been here 8 years and not been able to vote. You know, a lot of little things we take for granted. And she was happy to go vote, and she's got a nice new apartment. She has a wonderful landlord that checks on her all the time. He was a past police officer, and she's having some enjoyment out of life. She's 80-some years old, doesn't have any family left, and you know, we check on her. She calls all the time, see how things are going, and she's so thankful for that hot meal, and appreciates all the hard work our volunteers do at Arise, because everything is homemade. You go in the mornings, you put on your apron, and you go to work. Cut up potatoes, carrots, radishes, and Linda that cooks, she surprised me the other week. We had this huge big bag of radishes, and she goes, oh, I think I'll try this. And she puts the radishes, washes them, cuts them up, puts onion with them, and puts season them on, and bakes them. And when she brought it out, it tastes just like a turnip. I said, these don't even taste like radishes. But, you know, people are very giving, and they take time to try to come up with nourishing meals for them and see how we can make their life better. Because you never know, one day it might be me, might be you. Times are changing. They're getting harder. And every time I go out on the road and see someone that has to live in some of these conditions, they're renters, $850 on up. How the place looks. The skirting is falling off the trailers. The windows are broke out. The doors don't even shut properly. And we work with Shining Door Alliance in Woodstock. And they come over here when we have a place available. We have to meet inspections. Yeah. You know, if you don't have a doorknob on the front door, the windows are out, how are we going to meet inspections? I just can't believe how things go down and they do not repair. I've had a lady's been without a refrigerator for 8 months. You know, it's just really sad that our landlords do not keep the property up, take care of things. You might call them 50, 11 times and still nothing's done, you know, and that is very, very sad that these people have to pay in $850. Some of them have to pay $1,200 to live in motel lodging here. In one big room and a bathroom, $1,200, you know. Seems like we don't have a clue, you know, that this is happening, but it is, it's right here. And we do need housing. We need affordable housing for people. And we've got enough people here. It's 30% of the population here are renters. 30%, you know? And we've got people that have jobs living in their cars because they can't find any place to live. They come to Arise. They go in the shower, get dressed, head off to work. Laying in the back of their car. It's here. It's right here. We see what's happening in the world around us. Look at San Francisco, New York. Do you ever think you would see the situations like that. And we really try hard for that not to happen, and work with Bo Cook for many years. He's done jobs coming to me telling me where people are. My husband walks the Greenway and say, you know, we got somebody living under the Greenway. Did you know about that? Never did. So we get the information out to people and let them know that there is help here, instead of letting them lay on the streets, lay under the bridges, sleep in their cars, and, you know, help them with their mental illness. We have a lot of sad situations when it comes to mental illness. These people need to be treated. And I'm just thankful that I am able to help. I know we're doing a lot with Page One. We're sending a lot of people there for food. But it's no use to give people cans of food, big pieces of meat. They're living in motel lodging. How are they going to cook them? How are they going to refrigerate them? You know? I had a landlord to call me, and he said, Lois, I need you to stop by. And I stopped by, and there was all this food in the trash can because they didn't have a way to cook it. They didn't have a way to store it properly. So, you know, you think about what waste it is. And we try to check with them to see if they have a crock pot. A lot of them will ask for a frying pan, you know, to make their life a little easier, be able to use the food that they're receiving. It's no use to struggle and try to bring things into an organization if the client has to throw it away. And we have some JMU registered nurses students that have been with us for a couple weeks. They'll be back tomorrow. So we gave them a tour. We took them out to our clients. They took blood pressures. They were able to give a lady her insulin. She went to the doctor. They sent her insulin to the drugstore, picked it up. We taught her how to use it. Well, we were blessed that we had a group of students that came in, and I was with them, and they gave her shot, instructed her how to do it. And when we got back to the shop, we went in the office with Joe, and Joe said, well, girls, how'd it go? And there was silence for a while. And when they started, she said, Lois, didn't have any idea it was this bad. Didn't have a clue. Didn't have a clue that people live like this. And they're going off into Northern Virginia to the emergency room, Fairfax, and they didn't have a clue that people have to live in some of the conditions that they're living in. And we went into a trailer, and it's pretty bad shape. And we opened the door, and the roaches fell down on them, and they started screaming and yelling and said, oh, what is this? I said, it's roaches. She lives on a set income. The exterminators agreed to let her pay $25 a month to get it under control. But, you know, they were in tears when they left. And my son came last week. His father passed away, and he came. He said, Mom, I'm going to go with you to work today. I said, well, great. And when he got back, he said, you know, I've been gone 20-some years. He said, I had no clue it's still this bad. That people live in these kind of conditions, you know? And it is. And I had a friend that I took on a little trip, and we visited some of the surrounding areas. You have this black paper, plastic paper on the windows to keep warm. Had an 86-year-old lady standing outside with a hatchet, cutting her own wood, trying to stay warm. You know, we need to maybe take a little tour and see what else is needed in our community. You know, yes, it's nice we can build this and do this or that, but we have our local people that have lived here all their life. You know, I had a friend say, I started out at $1.25 when I went to work at Wrangler. What kind of retirement did that person have? No. Struggled all their life. But, you know, we can give somebody a little pleasure in their later years. We can help them with their medications. You know, I don't know how some people even get things filled out anymore. everything is so complicated, and you get this person, they tell you to do this, you get this person, they tell you to do that. You can spend hours just trying to help someone get their disability, get them signed up for food stamps. They don't know what to do. They do not know what to do. So we have some big issues on the plate here. And yes, housing is a big issue. It's very sad to walk into a home and see that the door is falling off and these poor people are trying to stay warm in the winter. You know? What are our landlords doing? Are they helping or just collecting the rent every month? And a lot of them will say, you know, Lois, I've asked to get this done, I asked to get that done. And I've signed up quite a few in Page County for weatherization. Got a lady that's just happy as can be. She's got a new roof on her house. No more leaks. Lady got new windows, new doors. But it takes someone to sign these people up and get the information out there. When I worked at Page One, I signed up so many people for fuel assistance. Don Knighting said, Lois, I'm gonna have to put you on the payroll. I said, no, just as long as we can keep them warm. Keep them warm. With the cost of fuel and food and medications, a little lady always calls every month, I don't have enough cat food. I'm gonna run out. Joe says, go get her cat food, Lois. So, but we do our best. It's not an easy task, and it's so sad that we see this. It really is. And you can drive by and see some of these motels, how they ever operate, how they ever pass inspections, health codes. I'll never know. I don't understand that. You know, I'm a homeowner. I want to keep my house up. You know, if you live next to someone and there's a dump in the yard, I'm sure you're going to get a complaint. But it's just absolute filth that people have to live in. And it's very, very sad. We try to make it better for them. We take them a few extra things every now and then. And they're so grateful for that. So grateful.
We'll give them a happy story.
Good.
And this is what we try to do. This is what we aim to do. A young man came in and said, I need a job, I need a place to live, I'm hungry, I need a shower. So we took care of the first one first, got him a shower. And I said, well, what kind of work do you do? So I created a little resume, put it online. He had a job at Anderson like that, just like that. Okay, so he goes through the process of getting this job, which takes a while because they're shorthanded in management there. Each person is doing way too many different jobs. Well, I kept telling him every time he'd come in, let's call him. Finally, I said, get in your car, drive up there, and talk to that nice lady. And he went in and she said, oh my gosh, thank you so much for coming in. Now, this young gentleman has some challenges. He's on the autism spectrum, but he is one hard worker. And once he learns something, he's incredible. They've promoted him 5 times already. So his next job that's going to pay $22 an hour, he's going to be their custodian because it's such an important position and they can't keep somebody going there. Well, he has perfect attendance record there. And he said, okay, now what we need to work on, I've got a paycheck. And I said, well, let's call Shenandoah Alliance for Housing. We found a place for him. He got into the place. Just like Lois said, it had to be inspected. A window was broken out. There was no handle on the oven, which makes it a little difficult to use, and a few other things. They had to paint and clean and kill all the bugs. Okay, the realty company did that. He moved in. He is just as happy as you would not believe. He's sleeping on an air mattress that Page One gave him, and he doesn't miss all of the stuff he doesn't have. He is so happy. And, you know, that's, you know, 4 or 5 times a year we get that. And things fall into place. Sometimes the good Lord, I think, looks down on us and says, okay, this is gonna be easier part of your job today. And I never expected to find a place for him, but that was because of Judy Bell. She's a fine lady, and she helped us, helped him, helped Luray, because he's paying taxes, he's spending his money where he should, and I think he has all kinds of plans about doing great things with that money. But that's a good one, and you've heard the worst. But one little thing, we deliver meals to these people every day. I do sometimes, Lois does. And we see the condition that they're living in. There needs to be an inspection on places in town that are renting out and pulling a profit. I can show you a stairway right now that's dangerous. It's gonna collapse. I told the volunteer, don't you go up those stairs, I'll do it for you, because I would feel terrible if one of these ladies got hurt. And by the way, here's all the people from Arise in these blue shirts. Lana Sowers is one of our past presidents, and she's still our treasurer, thank goodness. But we really support this initiative of housing. We're not asking for anything tonight. We just want you to know why it's so important. And I hope our presentation may have filled in some of the blanks.
And we would like to invite you. We do meals Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We start at 9 and help prepare. We help the lady in the kitchen. We cut, we cook, we do whatever was needed to be done, and show you the operation of what goes into these hot homemade meals that we take out. And invite you to ride along with us. Anybody's welcome to ride along with us and take a look at what we're looking at. You know, get an idea of what's happening and the conditions of certain places that they're paying $850 to $1,200 a month to live in. So, thank you.
Any questions?
Council, any questions?
No, just God bless those that did for the work that you're doing. I think it's wonderful.
Well, we got a wonderful group at Arise, and they all work hard. We all pull together. There's a lot of days that we're short, but you know, we're able to spend some extra time moving and shifting and doing.
Anyone on council like to be a volunteer, we'd love to have you. We need another great set of eyes, so anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you all for what you do.
I do have some follow-up comments on that, and I apologize for taking time to what might be a longer night. On the getting out information about the fuel program, the winterization, things like that, I'm sure we do some of this, but could we maybe leverage the town's social media a little bit on that and, you know, put some things with utility bills? I don't know if that's feasible, but I know DSS puts together flyers on these things, and we could stick them in.
If we're made aware of them, we don't, to my knowledge, we've never received anything directly from social services about any of their programs. We can ask about it, yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that would be a cool way to get the information out. And I might, you know, reiterate that it would be nice if we could have council members go see some of these things. And then maybe we could go and pose a challenge to other elected bodies in the county, other towns, and say, hey, let's all get out here and see what's going on.
Council, anybody else? Yeah, it's a difficult thing. I know our church did it for 5 or 6 years, and delivering meals, and we go to these houses and see how people are living. Just old families and one go tell them how they do it. It's a wonderful thing. Thank you. All right, Mr. Burke.
Yes, sir. First item on your agenda tonight is a public hearing, SUP 2318 at 201 East Main Street. The town's requested to conduct a public hearing to receive citizen input on a special use permit to operate a child care facility at 201 East Main Street, tax map number 4211, A57 in the Business B1 District that was received from Every Child Early Learning Center Incorporated. The town staff have identified a number of concerns regarding the proposed use at this location. The Planning Commission did recommend approval at their October 11th meeting with conditions that the special use permit not transfer upon sale of the property, business, or membership interest, composition of the holding company, and that the Department of Education licensing for daycare be obtained and maintained.
Okay, we have several people signed up for the public hearing this evening. I will remind you, please restrict your comments to 3 minutes. And we ask we all conduct yourselves as ladies and gentlemen. All right, the first name, and if you did not sign up at the end, we will still give you a chance to speak if you would like to speak. All right, the first person, Mr. Glenn Bradley.
First off, I'd like to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to speak here tonight. I have property at 79 Thomas Street, which is accessed by using North D Ford, which is located at the corner of church property that they're wishing to utilize. Whether you all know it or not, there's already an issue with traffic and sight distance at this intersection. Trying to pull out on Main Street, you're unable to see traffic that is coming westbound due to cars that are parked in front of the church and potential daycare that they're wanting to run there. So you're taking a chance pulling out safety, other issues. While there was a child care service ran there for many years, it was ran by the church for the church's benefit and not a separate benefit for a profit business. This is a church building that should be used as a church, not a separate business, as the church does not pay real estate tax on this property. So if they want to utilize it for a business, then I think they need to start paying tax on this property if that's the decision that the council makes. Also, there's an issue with the operating the daycare, the pickup and drop off. There were issues before. I know that it's been said in the past that it ran for all those years with no issues. There were times that you would turn onto North D Ford, you would have parents that were double parked, picking up their children or dropping them off. And then you would have the occasional child that would dart out from time to time out of their hands of their parents to run to their car or whatever. So you kind of had to watch the busy intersection, plus keep an eye out for a kid that may spring loose from their parents' hands. So even based on any decision that y'all make here tonight, I would like to make a recommendation that we look at that intersection to possibly remove a few parking spaces in front of the church to open up the visibility for that intersection. And that's something y'all can look at a separate time. There's also the issue with the staff parking for this daycare. The church there does not have parking available. I know that they have acquired permission to park at the church on K Street. However, the town code states that the parking location shall be zoned properly. Doesn't specify. I would assume that it should be zoned business by my interpretation, since we're going to be running a business. This property is actually zoned R2 at the Cave Street Church. So you would have parking for a business in a residential district. And I'm sure that the residents that surround that area are not going to want cars coming and going all hours, the early morning and late afternoons, evenings, with doors shutting, car alarms being set or whatever. I know that the lease agreement that the applicant has supplied on y'all's webpage stated that the property was zoned commercial. However, it is not. It is zoned R2. Also, the drop-off point and pickup location that they are proposing to use, the alley located behind the church between North D Ford and William Street, is not a great plan. It's a narrow alley. It's going to create noise, dust, and safety issues for the residents who have to deal with traffic. Furthermore,
I got started interrupting you. Do need to wrap up if you would, please.
Okay. I will say that William Street is a privately owned road. It is not a town-maintained street. It is owned by Southern States Corporation. They do all the maintenance, all the snow removal, and allowing a person to use someone else's property, I do not feel is a good idea either. And I have the plats for, I'll give that to y'all. Y'all can pass it around. There's enough copies of the Southern States property, which shows the entrance there highlighted.
Thank you very much. I think I called Mr. Harvey, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. He's not here.
Yeah, I know he's next on the list, I apologize for that.
Thanks.
Okay, next up, Mr. Buzz Harvey. Buzz, that's all I've ever known. What's your real name?
Ward?
Ward?
Ward, yeah. All right, my first concern is, right up on the corner where Glenn was talking about. At one time, that yellow line went clear back to the church door. They had sidewalk work, then the line just went one car on the corner, one car lane. And I almost hit a kid there one morning. Well, she was parked on the yellow line, and she reached and grabbed this kid out in front of me when I was turning in. And so I feel like things are gonna happen down on Ford Avenue. And then where you turn to go down that alley, it's an old lady who lives in an apartment right beside the alley. It's in a wheelchair. She won't be able to sit out in the summertime with all this going on. The man across the aisle, right across the alley, won't be able to do that either because of the dust and the noise. I mean, I wouldn't want it. And then the house where the old lady lives in the wheelchair has a 3-car parking lot behind it, right across from the door they're going in. How are they gonna get in and out of that parking lot? And another thing, you're not supposed to block that alley, but it will be blocked all day. When you have 75 kids, and you have, 60 cars in the morning, 60 in the evening, over 100 cars a day. That's what I think. So, and I'm speaking for Mr. McGrath that has bought the 3 houses on the Ford Avenue, the daycare, the weekend rentals. And he does not want to see this. So I think that's about it. Plus, I don't want it now. I had the petition, so everybody pretty on the streets got signed on it, so. Appreciate you listening.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Okay, Josephine Saunders? Which is it, ma'am?
Saunders.
Saunders, okay.
Hello, Josephine Saunders, 9 Hawksbill Heights Drive, Luray. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to hear us again. And I know a couple of you guys had a couple things that you were concerned about, and I wanted to address those concerns about the alley and about the fact that I guess some of you had toured the place and were concerned about mud. Now, my husband and I own a landscaping company, and we will be maintaining that alleyway with the gravel was donated by somebody else. He's worked in construction all his life, and he guaranteed me that that's what the gravel is for. There will not be any mud coming up during freezing and thawing. The gravel's put there so there is no mud. So, and he'll take care of the yard work afterwards in the summer and stuff like that too. And also, I'd like to address that the problem of the people don't want it in their neighborhood. And I'm sorry to say that everybody wants progress until it's in their own backyard. And if nobody wanted progress in their own backyard, where would Luray be right now? Not in a mean way, but we would just be fields. I mean, that's just how it works. And I can speak as to being a homeowner in a high traffic zone. I live on Luray, or right across Luray Avenue, so I've got traffic coming from the middle school to the grade school and coming out of the middle school, so they're coming back and forth all, at 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. We accommodate for that. We know our high traffic hours, we know when to leave our house or when to not, and it's all for the greater good, which is our children. We know that we have to do this for the kids. So that's all I wanted to say, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Declan, did I say that? How bad did I mess that up, sir?
Declan Dufresne.
I ruined that, didn't
Not the first time I've ever had my name being ruined.
I? I'm sorry, sir.
It's okay. My name's Declan Dufresne. I've been a resident here of Luray for about 3 years since I moved here from Fauquier County. Before that, I come out of Chicago, Illinois. My son is a 7-year-old nonverbal autistic kid. It is incredibly difficult to actually have to deal with not only young children, but to also have to deal with someone who is of special needs. The best way for them to continue moving forward and to gain the experience they need in life is to have constant points where they have interaction with other children of their same age, similar issues that they have. Little inconveniences to homeowners and the like for the benefit of the people who have such a hard time in life ahead of them is an important thing. As we heard earlier from one of the gentlemen in Arise, they talked about the autistic man that they had who is always on time. Where do you think he learned that type of behavior? From being around other kids, from having that experience. Yeah, things will be very difficult. Luray is a great experience, a great town to have been moved to. I love the people here. You're very welcoming. But the best way to show that is to treat even the lowliest with the highest level of regard. That's really all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Listen, thank you. Okay, next, Carol Baker.
Hi, Carol Baker, 9200 Antelope Place. My grandchildren have special needs. They need a safe place for daycare. There's no place anywhere around here that will accept kids with special needs. There's no place for that. This community needs this center. Jenna has taken everything into consideration. She's dotted every I. She's crossed every T. She's done everything that has been asked. Please vote to give my grandchildren and many other children a safe place to be cared for.
Thank you. I absolutely cannot read the next one, but they live at 54 North Marie Lane.
That's me.
I'm sorry, sir.
Well, I was a banker for 30 years and I couldn't write very well then. And then I have Alzheimer's, so I can't write. Writing's been worse. So I'm giving my excuses. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. And I just have very few words. As public servants, I would think that your obligation is to the many of the county, not to the few. And if your decision here is made on behalf of the people that need it for their children, I feel you will be dealing with more of the people of this county than those, if you rule against them, that have objections to them, that you'll be representing them more than you are the many of the county. That's all I have to say.
All right, so what was your name, sir? I'm sorry.
Donnie O'Neill.
Donnie O'Neill?
Right.
Okay.
I'm a member of the county since '99.
All right, Mr. O'Neill, thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Chris Gray.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Christopher Gray. I live on 15 Luray Avenue, actually at the section or intersection of 15 Luray Avenue and South Defford. So we live on the corner where it is a high traffic area because of the school. We have that morning traffic, we have that evening traffic, we have all day traffic. The traffic's not going to make that big of a difference down at the school picking up for a daycare versus what it is now. At South Defford, where you pull out there at the dental office, to look down the road towards the fire department, you can't see that way anyway. So if that is okay to pass as a town council, then why is the other road to be able to turn in by the funeral home not the same way? Or to turn out by Southern States as a public business that does it day to day they always have traffic coming out of there. It's the same concept. You're going to add some more vehicles in there at different times of pickup. It's not going to be all the vehicles at the same time during the day. So that's kind of a moot point. Kids need this. Parents need this. It's going to bring jobs. I think that about sums up everything that I think of. So thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Jenna Smith?
Jenna Smith, 129 Fixers Ferry Road. I'm going to try to whip into this as much as possible to kind of mark off some of the things that I was hearing. With the traffic route, with the concern of visibility on DeFord, we would be pulling in DeFord, not pulling out, because that visibility is a concern. We didn't want to add more cars trying to pull out inch forward trying to see, so we would be pulling in on DeFord, back alley, coming out on Williams, like the traffic from southern states. I was able to observe and see the school pickup and drop-offs for Mount Carmel and Luray Elementary, and was able to talk to them about how they do their pickups and drop-offs. And a big piece of that, we're talking about the double parking, things like that. A big piece is that I know Mount Carmel said that they have very clear expectations that their parents understand of where you're allowed to pull up, where you're allowed to park, where you're allowed to stop, and their parents follow those rules as part of being utilizing that school. And we would do the same. We would make sure that parents had very clear expectations. We also, in the proposal that I submitted, you'll see I have plans to have staff out helping direct traffic as well during the high peak pickup and drop off hours, which it's not going to be throughout the whole day with cars. However, there will be chunks of the morning and chunks of the afternoon with pickup and drop off will increase. For security, I was able to get a quote from Vector Security today, who he's looking into getting approval through the fire code process to do a two-way bypass door at the front of the door so that those with credentials can get in and out. Because of the nature of it being for children with special needs, he said he's done this before, where he gets pretty much permission through the proper channels to allow for the people with the proper credentials, aka the adults, to be able to get in or out from inside and in from outside, and children would not be able to, so they couldn't just get out the front doors. One last thing I want to kind of bring up is that this is an affordable option for families with and for children with and without special needs. We'll accept this subsidy, and we have an in-house sliding scale to help families with childcare, so families can support their parents can support their families. This is going to allow people who do commute out of town to be able to have childcare options that fit their budget. And we will work with families to make sure that they're able to have a quality care that they can afford, of providing transportation to and from different schools in the county, as well as homes in the county as well for those who need it and don't have transportation but still need childcare so they can work. And the last little thing I want to say is that the church had submitted a letter that they wanted me to ask would be read aloud when the time comes. That's all I have. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me. Or if you want me to...
Thank you, Mr. Did anyone not sign up that would wish to speak on this public hearing? Mr. Burke, you have any correspondence?
Yes, sir. We received today a petition of 42 signatures that requested the town to deny the special use permit due to concerns about limited parking and high traffic volumes. I can pass that around so you can see the names that are on it. I did provide y'all a copy of it earlier. We also received an email from Jackie Reese of 1125 East Main Street, Apartment 5. I'm writing to express my wholehearted support for Jenna Smith as she embarks on this exciting journey of opening Every Child Early Learning Center. Her dedication to providing a nurturing and educational environment for children of all statues is truly commendable. Having known her for quite some time, I'm confident that her passion for childcare and her commitment to excellence will make Every Child Early Learning Center a valuable asset to the community. Her years of experience and the warmth she brings to her work are qualities that will undoubtedly create a positive and enriching experience for the children entrusted to her care. The prospect of every Child Early Learning Center opening its doors brings anticipation and optimism for everyone. I believe that her daycare center will not only contribute to the educational and social development of the children, but also serves as a reliable support system for families in our community. If there is any way I can assist or contribute to the success of every Child Early Learning Center, please consider me a willing collaborator. I look forward to seeing the positive impact her daycare center will have on the lives of children and families. Another email from Elizabeth Greenwood of 213 Hawksville Heights Drive. I strongly oppose this special use permit for every Child Early Learning Center at 201 East Main Street. The parking situation is extremely worrisome. Having families park at the New Direction Community Church and walk small children to the actual location is very dangerous. Multiple studies have shown that children with sensory disorders and other disabilities are more likely to be involved in pedestrian accidents. Why increase to those chances? It only takes a split second to have something horrible happen. Inclement weather also plays a factor in this. DeFord Avenue and Main Street are blind corners and dangerous in the best of circumstances. The amount of children and staff is a huge increase to the prior years of operation. The safety of our children and citizens should come first and foremost. Ms. Smith might be able to control what happens in the building, but cannot control what happens on the streets surrounding it. I feel that because the need for this child care center is high, people are willing to overlook the red flags associated with it and its location. I simply cannot overlook this issue. Thank you for your time and consideration. We received another message from Molly Spivey of 335 Vista View Road in Stanley. I'm writing on behalf of every Child Early Learning Center located at 201 East Main Street. I would just like to point out that the director, Jenna Smith, is not only an amazing person and everything she does for our community, but she is also very trustworthy, respectable individual. She comes to our community with more knowledge than most on the topic of special needs within our county. There are so many families that could benefit from her services, not only children with special needs, the other children as well. Having the center open would not only provide jobs to the community that are so desperately needed, but also the child care that this community needs so that parents and guardians that live here can be able to work and be successful. Every Child Early Learning Center and Jenna Smith have my full support, and I hope that everyone in the community can support her and the center just like we have with other businesses. Another email from Nancy Scutasanti, 678 Mill Creek Road. And the hearing tonight. As a property owner in Luray, I support the efforts that Jenna Smith has made toward the improvement in education and care of children of Page County and Luray. If parking was a problem, then how do restaurants on Main Street get permits? This proposal should be approved by the town council. Title Wilson of Main Street Flavors at 40 East Main Street. Good afternoon. I'm writing you this email to encourage the approval of every Child Early Learning Center's request for a special use permit. It is my opinion that the community needs a center like this to better meet the needs of families in our communities. I also endorse Jenna Smith as a standout citizen rising high to offer a space for all the children in our community. And then finally, a letter from the St. Mark Evangelical Lutheran Church. Upon the denial of a special use permit by the Town Council of Luray to every Child Learning Center, the Council of St. Mark Evangelical Lutheran Church has several concerns we would like to respectfully address. We have a sizable educational building which is currently unoccupied except for our pastors and church secretaries' offices and fellowship hall. Understanding the property's inconsistent use can rapidly deteriorate, we have been considering options for the rental of said space. As you are aware, St. Mark ran a respectable preschool and daycare for almost 3 decades without incidents. At times, 50 to 60 children were served. With our Bus Buddies program, we met the needs for parents who worked beyond school hours. So when every Child Learning Center proposed renting this space from the church, It appeared to be a great opportunity as it will utilize our educational building for its intended purpose, as well as align with our ministry for the community. The first major concern of Town Council expressed in their denial of the special use permit was off-street parking requirements not being met. Although we understand the need to try and provide off-street parking where able, many of the existing buildings on Main Street are at a severe disadvantage in trying to meet the off-street parking requirements. The town should consider modifying their off-street parking requirements to align better with promoting businesses on Main Street. Especially when compared to other towns and cities, there is ample parking availability on adjacent streets throughout the town. The second concern was related to child safety during pickup and drop-off. Every Child Learning Center proposed the idea of having pickup and drop-off at the back of the church via the private alleyway to keep activity on Main Street to a minimum. We agreed that this option would be beneficial to traffic, even though there has never been an issue with pickup or drop-off at the front of the building. Council members were concerned about parents pulling out of William Street with limited sight distance. Businesses in the town cannot control the conditions of the town-maintained streets, and sight distance for nearly all town street intersections are determined by the distance the town allows on-street parking to the intersection. With denial of the special use permit based primarily on circumstances that are out of the applicant's control, we are anxious that we will never be able to make use of our space, which will cause our property to lose its value. We are searching for some type of needed ministry to the community of Luray, and at the same time hope to be good stewards of our property at St. Mark Evangelical Lutheran Church. To our knowledge, the matter of concern with the previous denial of the special use permit has been addressed in resubmission of the application. We appreciate your thoughtful consideration on this matter as you reconsider the application. And then they also wished that after 2 council members met with the applicant again last month to our facility, it was discussed that off-street parking requirement is still council's possible reason for denying the special use permit. The applicant has provided a lease agreement for the parking lot at the New Direction Community Church for their required 22 parking spaces for employees. This alone satisfies section 506.4 of the code for meeting parking requirements. In addition, the public parking lot beside the town office is 1,010 feet away from the church, which adds an additional 75% of the parking requirement allowed per section 506.4. The applicant has procured adequate parking to meet the code. It also should be noted that they did so without requesting a waiver for reduced off-street parking within the downtown business district under section 506.22, which they have the ability to do. It should be reiterated that the required total parking is for employees. This proposed use is less impactful to town parking because it doesn't need parking for patrons, customers, etc. It appears that many restaurants in town, including 2 fairly new ones within our block, don't seem to get this level of hyper-focus on parking or have to provide this level of justification for meeting the parking requirements, which is odd. When they could have 22 cars parked for lunch or dinner alone and not 22 vehicles for the entire day. Even so, the applicant has thoroughly proven that they have adequate parking per the requirements. If this use is denied for lack of off-street parking while they met the requirements, then our church virtually can never have another use in the building, so much potential to the community. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There was an email sent in by Susan Saunders that was not.
She said this was wrong. She said it.
I apologize. I saw Sanders in 9 Hawksbill Heights. I thought you were one and the same. Okay. This is from Susan Saunders, 9 Hawksbill Heights Drive.
How long, I mean, you passed this, was this not in the packet?
No, sir.
Yeah, I did get one. I mean, I'm not, people want to send emails out, put in the packet. I mean, I'm not in any way trying to, something that's positive. It is a positive email, pass it around, put it up here.
Okay.
Not really fair to say.
Okay. It is.
No, that's.
No, that's fine. It's a very.
Right. And I thought we did.
I think many of us saw it this morning.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
So anything else? You are apologize, I don't think I officially opened the public hearing, so I want to make sure. Or close it. Everyone here tonight has a chance to speak. Please be reminded that after I close the public hearing, you will not be able to speak again. Mr. Burke, we've heard all the communications, and
Yes, sir. That's all that we've received, yes, sir.
and again, anyone else want to speak? Okay. Well, go ahead. Right under the wire, but that's all right. Go ahead.
I am Courtney Sertani. I live at 22 Cannon Street. I have known Jenna for a while, and she is got the biggest heart I know. And honestly, I think daycare would be a very good asset to the community. I think about like Shop House going on Bedford is terrible if there's cars parked along Main Street. So I just want you guys to think about that compared to like where the daycare would be.
Thank you. All right, again, last chance. Okay, then I'll close the public hearing. Council, your thoughts?
One of the gentlemen brought up a good point regarding the private alleyway that we're talking about using. Is that, have you done any research on that to verify that? That is indeed owned by Southern States?
We have not been identified today.
Not the alley, but this.
William Street.
Yeah, yes, the entrance to Southern States.
Yes.
One thing, I voted for it last time, and like I said, I've been in a lot of special use permit hearings over the years. Some content, some not. I know we talked about this for several months. I don't really see a big change from last time. I think the applicant has gone out of the way to try to answer questions. I know that, there's always, when you have something change in the neighborhood, it makes people pause. There was a daycare there at the church, funeral home, restaurants. I think this gentleman right here kind of summed up how I sort of feel regarding traffic. It's not ideal. There is downtown studio. It's not ideal. Hopefully people take their children there. They're safe, careful. I took my kids there for a couple of years, went across the street, make sure that they were safe getting out of the car. I think most parents do that. We understand that. The only compromise that I might offer, that I plan on still voting in favor of it, is I think the number that St. Mark's used that seems to be good, maybe consistent, what I remember was 55 kids. Maybe a compromise could be start at 55 kids. That's be the exact same thing that St. Mark's did. Everything goes well, maybe come back 6 months, and we'll re-up the special use unit, look at it again, and you can then go to 75. That way you're doing the exact same thing that St. Mark's did. We know that you have to get DOE licensing before you start. Put that in the special use unit. You got to have that anyway. And the other thing that I would maybe recommend is that the SUP is just non-transferable. So you're going to sell it or move on to someone else, it would come back in here. So that would be my three recommendations. And I would say if that is a compromise, the applicant live with it. To go with the 55, let's say May 1st, everything looks good. We come back and expand that enrollment, revisit the special. So that's how I see it.
I have a question. The concern last time it was related to the parking, and I see you now have provided a lease agreement with the church. In reading that, it doesn't state that, so is this, is there, I don't see an expiration on here. Okay. So at any time, the church could say, this isn't working out,
and I can have
because it doesn't mention anything about a review or that it expires.
And I can have it amended, or we can add in that. He and I just both felt like we just wanted to leave it open-ended so that it could just be used for how we want it to be used. But I'm happy to get that tweaked and submit something so it has an annual review.
I mean, I think it would be in the interest of you or the business, honestly, that you had something in there that if it was in perpetuity or if it was to be reviewed every year. Because otherwise, if they just decide that it's inconvenient or if there's a new pastor or deacons,
yeah, that's fine. I can definitely get that added. I'll email him tonight.
I've got a question for Mr. Rockman, if I may ask.
Yes, sir.
The one speaker brought up a concern with the parking, the off-street parking being in R2.
Yes, sir.
You had a chance to look at that. Do you have an idea of where our code, or what would be your interpretation of our code for off-street for a B1 operation in R2?
Yes, sir. Section 506.4 talks about off-street parking and how that can be at times provided by another location. The phrase that's used there that was mentioned by the speaker earlier is that the location that's providing the parking has to be properly zoned. So in this instance, if you look at the R2 zoning district, you see there that child care facilities aren't permitted by right or by special use permit. You also see that in R2, like the other zoning districts, off-street parking is permitted, but only for uses that are permitted in R2. So taking that into consideration, then, if you give full effect to the phrase properly zoned under the supplemental parking regulations, then an R2 lot would not be a legally viable source of off-street parking for a child care facility.
Okay, so
You have the plain English translation of it. I'm sorry, I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm kind of slow sometimes.
The use that the off-street parking is being furnished for has to be permitted under the zoning of the host property. That might be a better way of saying it.
And that host property is in R2?
Yes, sir.
So they do not comply with our zoning regulations to implement it.
That's correct. That's my opinion.
Well, even further, I would say just go with, just go with what St. Mark's had. R2, where is that lot at? Where is that lot?
It's
Cave
just
Street.
up Cave Street, just on the other side of the cemetery.
Well, let's change it. I was, that would be my recommendation. I didn't realize that was the case, but that's why I need to say more to my 55 kids, exactly what St. Mark's said.
Do you know how many employees St. Mark's had?
I mean,
I know my son went there, I think it was like 5.
Yeah, I would say somewhere around 5 to 8, something like that.
What would you suggest we change to?
I mean, we could amend, the zoning, the parking ordinance. Surely, we have the ability to do that. We don't have to, we control the zoning ordinance, doesn't necessarily control us. So if it makes sense that they park there, I would say, yes, you can park there, and we'll get around to amending that. If they've got an agreement off-site, you won't look at the, I just think saying, well, they have a good site to park, something goes that maybe doesn't drive with our code, we'll just simply change it, to make sense for the park staff there or whatnot.
And that's something that, again, as a non-zoning voice at the table, that could be done retroactively, or will we have to make that change before?
I don't think so. I think we could do it afterwards.
So back to the alleyway, if you look at that, Ms. Smith, when I spoke to you, I brought up Mount Carmel, thought it'd be helpful for you to pay them a visit, and I'm sure it was. A key difference is they have more than one lane. And the bigger issue that I fear is, yes, they are able to manage it well, but the parking horseshoes around the entire building. If you've ever been to Mount Carmel, that's a pretty big parking area. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of feet. And in elementary, or in the high school, we're only talking a handful of students. In elementary, we're talking maybe 70 students. Maybe a little more than that, I might be off on that. And they have 3-4 times as much area to work with. More than that, probably. I didn't get out there with a measuring stick, I probably should have.
So they have 170 is how many they said. They have 170 students.
And they do 2 lines.
They have 2 lanes. They have 1 pickup time, 1 drop off time.
And that is a big difference, I understand
We
that.
have hours of range,
Sure.
and it's in the packet. You can see on that page where it talks about, this is gonna be page 5, where it has it broken down by the number of cars that will be lined up per 30-minute increments. So you're never gonna have 70 cars at one time. because we don't have 70 children being dropped off at the exact same minute. And it also has in there as an alternative solution of scheduling. So and this is what I spoke about with Mount Carmel, was scheduling time so people have a window in which they come and pick up their child.
Sure.
So I could do that as well to help in those peak drop-off times spread out the traffic.
Sure, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that went into it. I mean, this is an estimate, so what if you all of a sudden attract 20 employees from one company and now they're just bombing you all at the same time because
Well,
it's when they're going to
because
work?
just like Mount Carmel, we would have strict regulations that they would have to follow. And if they wouldn't agree to follow those, they would not be able to do 10.
Okay.
So if they're gonna wanna all drop off at the same time and we say they can't, then they can't. They can't enroll their child.
Council?
I've got some other legal questions. As I ask these questions, and I want the audience to realize too, I understand the need exists, and I want people to know I'm not opposed to the concept. I'm struggling with the location, okay, not the concept or the need. With this survey plat, and I turn back to you, with southern states, and I do know, because I've even noticed today when out there, the pavement is continuous from Main Street back through there. I didn't know that because it's a joint that's in the center that goes to Main, which I thought was odd. But anyway, with the proposed traffic plan, which we've identified as a concern, if all traffic was coming in going from D Ford, and the competition with funeral traffic when there is a funeral, which is different times of day, and that's what does make the D Ford East Main Street a little different than other D Ford intersections with other streets, is the impact of the funeral home, not just the daycare, because funeral traffic is an animal in itself that can be a traffic problem. It's just the funeral, not without anything else added to it. But where I'm going with this on the question, for the little piece of alley to work, if the alley terminates at private property, which would legally, I assume, need a right of way, a deeded right of way or permission to cross private property, how do we as a town, as elected officials, have the authority to grant access or travel across a private piece that's not a public street?
If there were such a limitation on the use of the alley, and southern states had those rights, the town's granting approval of a special use permit wouldn't impede their rights. If they had those rights and chose to exercise them at a later time, and I don't know for a fact that that's the case. I've not seen that survey plat. I don't know what the deeds show, but they could choose to assert rights and try to restrict or limit use, regardless of what the town's decision is on the special use permit application.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I'm hearing a lot of pros and cons. It caused me to have a value judgment for what I think, if it's gonna be safe, if it's gonna work well. And I guess I don't know, but I might make up my mind here in a second. So I'm wondering what happens if it's granted and the daycare goes into play and we determine that it's not working. Do they get to keep their special use permit valid, or is there any checks or balances on that? I don't know, once we approve something, does it stay approved? That's my question.
The special use permit would remain valid so long as all the conditions that are specified are complied with. There couldn't be any action taken by council to revoke the permit unless there was evidence that one of the specified conditions had been breached.
I think one of the conditions just be to do a review.
Yeah.
To make sure everything is
That's what the planning commission suggested.
being adequately run, and that there's nothing out of the ordinary that maybe was presented at the meeting as a condition. I always kind of was an impression the local government sort of has a lot of leeway, especially use permits, creating different positions. So in fact, could even make potentially the board to do some sort of 6 months. I just say 6 months. But, so as part of this, that was being that council wanted to do that.
Yes, sir.
If you look at any other educational facility, any child care facility that's this size, they all have a big buffer around them. Right? You go to elementary school, They're far back from the road, they're not right up on the road. Go to the high schools, they're not right up on the road. Go to Mount Carmel, they're not right up on the road. Ms. Smith, when we spoke, I think you said that you had, in your time at the elementary school, you had several runaways, one of which even got all the way to Luray Avenue. That's a long way. We're talking railroad tracks, we're talking traffic lights at that point. And my apologies, I didn't ask if I could say that publicly. I hope that's okay.
Well, and it wasn't to Luray Avenue, it was just to the street right outside.
Okay, but nevertheless, now we're right smack dab up on the road, and autistic children are at a greater flight risk than non-autistic children. That's just, I mean, I don't have a statistic in front of me, but that's a known thing.
That's why they got security.
And I know you have security, and I appreciate you looking into the doors and some of that.
Yeah, right? Charlie's is right on the street.
Yeah.
Charlie's is 75 children, and that's what.
Charlie's is more than 75.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just really concerned, especially with very limited visibility. Limited visibility, that many kids, and flight risk.
They have a huge parking lot that people drive through.
Yeah.
We used to get mad people driving through Charlie's parking lot, not for daycare.
I'm talking about Charlie's, I'm thinking of a.
I will remind everyone, I did close the public hearing, and this is the time for the council to discuss. I apologize.
But there's limited visibility and children with flight risk, no buffer at all. People can park right in front of there, they drive out and they're in the street. So, I have no concerns about the interior. I know you had a lot of work in progress when I visited you. You obviously put a ton of work into it. You did a lot of cool stuff. I never had a concern about the interior. I figured you could solve that. It's the outside that I've always been concerned about.
Council, any other thoughts?
Yeah, just to speak for myself, and I've said this in previous discussions with council, I mentioned it to Jason and Joey earlier. To cast a vote on this, I would want to be really explicit in, considering the whole picture of things, and that would include the people that have reached out to kind of testify in regards to character, the things that have been proposed and mentioned around safety, and of course just what's best for the kids, which I think is the big picture that hangs over it. And unfortunately, those things aren't germane to the planning discussion, which I think is in itself very salient. So it's appropriate for me in terms of wanting to cast a vote for really explicit big picture reasons that I'm probably going to abstain. This is just not the process for the vote that I would be casting in a public forum, but the reasons that I would want to share in that public forum. So.
All right, well, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the SUP for a child care center at the described location. And I would note that the SUP is non-transferable. 2, that the applicant must obtain Department of Education licensing before operating. 3, that the enrollment not exceed 55 students at any given time until the applicant returns to Town Council Monday, May 13th, to review the special use permit where the operations attendance or enrollment may be increased or the special use permit may be revoked. I make that motion.
The addition to other contingencies, and that would be a submission of an updated agreement on commercial lease for parking and maintained access and use to North Depot and William Street. In addition to the licensing issuance from VADOE, I would say issuance and compliance of all the regulations as set forth by VADOE.
And I accept those amendments and additions. Did you get those all written down?
Didn't you say 513 for a review?
Yes, that will be our meeting in May.
So that's a one-time review, not an annual review?
I'll just make it a one-time review.
Steve, can you read those amendments and make sure we're on the same page?
Well, as I understand, the motion is that in addition to the requirements of Town Code Section 506.9, Special use permit shall not transfer upon sale of the property, business or membership, interest, composition of the holding company. That's one. Two, Department of Education licensing for daycare be obtained, maintained, and complied with. Three, a maximum of 55 students until a review on May 13th, 2024, where the SUP can be either modified or denied upon council's decision. Four, that an updated parking agreement be provided addressing the long-term modification or revocation by both parties is addressed, and that access of North Defford is maintained.
That access and use north of that before the in Williams.
In William Street, okay.
And I would go back to actually, so when you have a conversation with the church, if they want to put an annual review on there, then I would say that there needs to, you need to be an annual review, or you need to maintain that agreement with them. So, if they say, okay, we'll update this, but we want to reevaluate it in 12 months. And then you understand it puts us in a position where we approve this based on you having that, assuming that it was never gonna expire, but in 12 months, they say, no, we're no longer gonna allow that, then you would not be compliant. So an annual submission, if they wanna do it for a 12-month agreement, could then she provide that annually, or if it's in, ideally, you'd wanna get it.
I'll talk about.
Well, the initial statement of the maintaining the requirements of Town Code Section 506.9, that specifies that they have to have the equivalent of off-site parking for staff.
Okay, Greg and Stephanie.
I think so,
Okay,
like I said, it just not to exceed 55, just to enrollment. And that's what we heard the St. Mark said, and that in May, this would be reviewed, where the enrollment could be increased, it could maintain the same, or it's possibly the special use permit could be revoked. So that's a little bit of a risk for the applicant, and kind of give it a trial run for, it's a little over 6 months, but that is the motion. With the amendments that was really made.
Councilman Webb compromised with the 55, gives me some assurance that since it did work in the past at that number, I think it makes more sense to take a chance with it. I've still got concerns about the safety and parking and all that.
Okay, Council, any more discussion?
I'd just like to say, one, and I expressed this to Ms. Smith when I joined the facility, and she's done a lot of work to this good at that. Personally, I still struggle with an alley that was never intended for actual daily vehicular traffic. As I said on the first public hearing, I personally didn't think I was gonna get through there probably 2 years ago with getting almost stuck. I realize gravel has been added, but I also know from being an inspector with VDOT, who built highways, that a sprinkle of gravel over top of a road that has no base, that is not actually built, is a problem, as far as what continuing to pump through, things like that. But the big thing too, well, there's several things. The off-street parking, that's still a concern with code, which maybe we could work through it. I struggle with this news of actually a private property that this would have to cross, and the owners of that private property are not here to voice an opinion. But also with those that voiced an opinion, that the residents that are both on the petition and residents that are here tonight, I personally just can't be deaf to their concerns, and they realize that they can't change with this. They live there. Mr. Harvey, I don't know how long you've been at your home, but I know it's been since 1946. So anyway, as I told Ms. Smith, the concept, the need, I see it there. We even talked about, I remember the old Safeway store being vacant for years and years and years, until finally Dollar General moved into that. What was IGA? Safeway, then IGA. But anyway, as I told her, if the same concept and idea was something like where that is, just 2 blocks up the street, but a large parking lot, the buffer that you speak of, traffic that can get in there, there could be, room for staffing, room for parent drop-off, all of that. This one just has many challenges that I think are gonna be a challenge to overcome, and even some things surface that we haven't even thought about, but that's where I struggle with it. I'm just sharing those comments.
Good, thank you, Jason. All right, anybody else? There's a motion on the floor. Any more discussion?
I guess I would ask a question, because I don't think you ever hurt from having more information. Mr. Watkins, with what you're saying about the parking and the zoning of the parking, what is the appropriateness or the process for making an approval of something, having noted that, and then going back afterwards to change the code? How does that measure in your experience?
Well, to change the provisions with respect to off-street parking, that would require an additional advertisement and public hearing, recommendation from the planning
To
committee.
do that after approving something that under the current
Yes.
doesn't control.
That's correct. Approval tonight would not in of itself change those provisions. There would be a process that would have to be followed before those other provisions can be amended in a legally effective way.
And the adjoining property owners would have legitimate grievance for that, correct?
I have not, I've not thought through the potential liabilities with respect to that. Also, that might be something that I'd be more comfortable talking about in a one-on-one setting or a closed session.
All right, council, any more discussion? And Danielle?
Mr. White?
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Pettit?
No.
Mr. Sowers?
No.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Ms. Lillard? Yes.
Okay, the special use permit has passed.
With the conditions attached.
All right, moving on, Mr. Burke. Code amendment section 74-9, clearance for signs.
Yes, sir. Next item on your agenda. Council's requested to consider a request from the town attorney to consider a code amendment to section 74-9. Okay.
Got a wild rush here.
This evening. Tell your brother I said hi.
Ben?
Tell your brother I said hi, they used to play more ball.
Ben?
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Not a problem, sir. Council's requested to consider a request from the town attorney to amend section 74-9 of the town code to remove references to sign regulations which are currently located in Appendix A, Article 8, Section 802.4. The code section amendment also simplifies the language related to violations of the code section, and the town attorney has determined that the code amendment does not require a public hearing to be considered by town council.
All right. Any discussion on that? Any questions for Steve?
It's pretty straightforward. Have a motion. Move that the town council approve and adopt code amendment section 74-9 of the town code as presented to take effect on adoption.
Second that. Any discussion on that? Daniel?
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
Mr. Sowers?
Yes.
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers? Ms. Lillard?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Burke, position reclassification?
Yes, sir. Council's requested to consider a request from the Parks and Recreation Superintendent to reclassify the second new tradesman position included in the FY23-24 budget to an event and marketing coordinator position. The number and complexity of events overseen by the department has increased to the point that the time commitment from staff were limiting their ability to appropriately address the department projects and needs. Establishment of an event and marketing coordinator position within the department would allow the town to recruit an individual with experience developing and overseeing large events.
I'd like to ask a question. Since we were at the work session and to discuss this position, something I was curious about because I've never seen it, but Steve, does the town break down costs of events? So for example, like since I've been on council, I've heard a figure of like what the fireworks cost, which is the fee of the contractor that comes in to set off the fireworks. But the overtime with leading up to that event, the work hours on the day of the event, and then the cleanup and the work hours after the event. And I mean, that's probably our largest. But then when you even go to smaller events, that are just a day event. But I know that many times when we say a day event, Parks and Rec may be weeks, here and there. And it might be, 3 hours that somebody's working on something one day or whatever. Do we ever break down those numbers and see what the total event actually costs from police overtime, public works overtime, Parks and Rec overtime, to see what we are spending as a town for some of the events that we have?
We do track the additional cost of overtime, both between Public Works, Parks and Rec, and the police department. Those managers then incorporate that information into their requested funding for the next fiscal year. So, yes, we don't typically break it out into an itemized list per event, but we do track how much the costs are so that we can better propose budgets for the next year based on what we've incurred.
Okay,
Yes,
and that's the numbers I've seen with what we've been presented, which is lump sums of overtime budgets.
Yes, sir.
A total overtime budget for the police for the year, Parks and Rec and all that. But what we don't see is, police overtime may be just like the other week, traffic lights down, you maybe even called in other staff for just traffic control for that, or we have storms, or we have a flood, or we have things like that that also get into overtime on all these departments, sewer line break, whatever, with street, with public works. But then also see most of the public works out here in an event, but we don't have those numbers. So where I'm going with this, and I'm not opposed to this position tonight, but I do have a concern when the town is creating a full-time position that is primarily event coordination. And as a council member, I'm not seeing true numbers of what these events are costing. So, the 4th of July, I'm just using round numbers, these are not accurate. Let's say we paid $15,000 or $10,000 for fireworks, but we may have spent $40,000 or $20,000 in overtime and trash bags and setup and all the stuff that came for weeks and weeks leading up to an event, and that. So, once again, I think that this has opened up the talking point, at least it has for me, that we need to consider, and I'm not, once again, let me say this up front, I'm not looking to cancel events, it's not that, but as this is growing, and as all departments' budgets are growing, and in another couple months, we're gonna be sitting right here trying to determine how we're gonna get the funds to fund another budget year, or where the money's coming from, and we're gonna be talking about taxes again, just like tonight with Mr. Fudge and Lois here, as they were doing their presentation. I'm thinking of those elderly people that they mentioned that are paying, still in their home, but barely getting by, and deciding whether they're gonna pay the electric bill or get their meds. And we're taking their tax dollars, just like everyone else's, for these events that, yes, they bring tourists and they do good, but me personally, I'm seeing a shift on citizens, tax-paying residents of Luray coming before the tourists and the entertainment side of it. But the problem is, I don't have the data I feel I need with what these events are truly costing, and I mentioned about partnering with nonprofits, and I'm all for that. But what we also don't know is, we may have an event with a nonprofit, and the nonprofit walks away at the end of the day, they sold tickets for whatever that event was for the one day, and maybe they made $2,500 or $3,000 for the nonprofit. But if the town's labor and actions to assist that nonprofit for $6,000, we'd be better as a town just to have made a donation to the nonprofit for $3,000 and bank the other $3. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, we may have more in labor and overtime with our personnel than what a nonprofit may make when we partner with some of these events. So I think we need to, we need to see that.
And I do understand that. And that's where I would need to respond is, we do timesheets, you know, every week, every 2 weeks. So we have overtime events, you know, Parks has a broken toilet in the middle of the night or some other, so we will have to put in place a better mechanism to give you the more accurate information you're looking for.
Well,
So going forward.
That's why I'm
Yes,
saying
sir.
this with this position. Okay, if we're gonna hire a full-time person that's assigned to event coordination, let's track those out. I know how I was with another agency, and I can tell you how much an event costs. With crime prevention, we know the man hours, and we may have people from other departments coming to assist us with that, but I knew how many people that was and what the man hours were even brought in from other departments, and what that rate would be. So, number one is I think that in addition to the tasks that were included in this position, that were broken out, I'd like to see this also be included in one of the job tasks, is the tracking of actual costs per event. And I'm sure some of these events are gonna be like, hey, man, that's great, that didn't, you know, a lot of events are cheaper. The Halloween event that we just spoke about, great turnout, that's a low budget, I would assume low budget, low cost event. Did not take days of setting up and preparing. Yes, had to close the street, had some traffic control or whatever, but it was basically just that evening, several hours, a little bit of cleanup happened. But we've got some things that are on scale, and even our summer concerts. I'd just like to know what costs are for these events, and I feel we owe it to our taxpayers to know, or at least I do as a council member, know what we're spending on these entertainment events.
For the FY 24-25 budget, we will make an effort to quantify as best we can. And I would agree that what we can do is then, as this coordinator is brought on board, they can then start tracking it so that in the future we'll have even more exact numbers. But we can give you a good idea per event. But
right,
it
and I'm
won't
not
be,
looking to the penny,
yeah.
you know, but an idea. Like say we'd be, I think all of us in this room, we would just be guessing of what an actual event costs.
Well, no, the 4th of July, and the 4th of July is an expensive event for the town, but it is, at least in my estimation, it's not only for our locals, but it is also a money generator for us, not necessarily just through the immediate sales, but we get a lot of people that visit Luray specifically because we have an amazing 4th of July event, and we are seeing an increasing number of people that are coming from Harrisonburg, Front Royal, all over.
I'm sorry. I would want to add that, just, it could be a more traditional cost and benefits analysis. Because I imagine if you quantify the benefit of some of these events to the local economy, it probably is significant. And obviously, we just have to see those numbers, and then you can actually do a cost benefit. But I don't want something that's, you know, biased on the cost side, biased on the benefit side, but let's also quantify the benefits, because, good Lord, the amount of people that I saw for 4th of July, if they all spend $10 somewhere, it's astronomical.
Right, yeah, I think it's a valid point. I think that, and we can't lose sight of perceived value versus real value, and this council had it. I appreciate your suggestion and that concern, and I think it's good fiscal responsibility, so I'm very supportive, all in agreement that that's a practice that we should implement in the new year. I think that, and I've had a few folks reach out to me since our last meeting, and so I just think it would be appropriate to take time tonight to say that while this position, the title is new, the roles and responsibilities written within this job description are not new. These are things that our Parks and Rec staff has been doing, some of which our director and was title
Assistant Supervisor
was doing. So I think it is, honestly, I look at it as improved efficiencies possibly. Also, I'll say that some folks said, well, yeah, why are we paying for entertainment? Why should I have to pay to entertain tourists? What I heard after that meeting. And what I shared with them is that the town, like the county, receives the transient occupancy tax. And this year, our estimated revenue was $420,000 when I look back. It was $281 last year, so up $420 anticipated revenue this year. And I went back and looked at what our legal counsel provided when we inquired about the use of those monies per county's instruction for the reality of how we could use the monies at town level. And a note here from Mr. Watkins' email, shall be spent solely for tourism and travel, marketing of tourism, or initiatives for the locality that helps increase occupancy at lodging and generates other revenues in the locality, which supports, I think, what Councilman White here was saying about, you know, they're eating our restaurants, they're shopping our main streets. And the last thing I'll say is the comment that was made about the Ruffner Plaza and the live entertainment there, and about it being primarily for the tourists and not the locals. Now, I've not made all of this season's concert events, but I have attended some. I've attended some in the past, and I know more faces than I recognize and know more faces than I don't. So I think that it's valid to say that when we talk about these events, again, let's not lose sight of, we hear a lot from our constituency, what are we doing for the kids? What do we have for families and for children in Luray and in the community? And many of these events are family-friendly events that occur after hours. And so I think all of those are points that needed to be shared so the folks at home can hear, and you know, if there are any thoughts on that, our contact information is out there. I'll happily have another conversation about it, but you know, I support the position, and again, I think too, going back to our conversation in the last meeting, the intent is not to increase the events, but moreover, really to just do a better job of maintaining you know, what we already have on the rack card.
Stephanie, I agree exactly with everything you said as well, and that's where, you know, with this, I said it back at the work session, I say it again today, I'm not looking to hamper and stop events, it's not that. But I think we do need to know, as a council, the costs associated with it. If we were business, and that's where I think we lose even sight here with town council. If it was not a town where all the revenue is based on tax dollars, if this was a private business where the revenue is based on people being our customer, instead of us, the money automatically flows from the taxpayer. With the customer, you've got to have a product that they're willing to buy. Okay? And I think the events, yes, people are buying because they're coming here, you know, for that. But I'm just to the point that I think we need to know what that's costing. And it may not be as large as what I even think. But anyway, good points from everyone. And I think it's just an eye opener to this one that we finally look at this, because it's been happening for some time, and it goes by, but we don't really know the numbers.
And it could also be, and again, I know, yeah, the money comes from different pots, but it kind of goes into the same thing. But it could be as simple as saying we would only allocate money related to events out of TOT funds. I don't know. And maybe that's too complicated, but those funds are for that, you know.
If I can offer, if there are specific events that you would like a cost analysis of, we definitely are able to obtain that. It's not something that we keep track of, you know, after each event, because it's important to remember that a lot of those costs do get absorbed into regular schedules, just like the traffic light incident. While it's not an event, it was an emergency, and those folks are already on duty. So all of those costs aren't necessarily tied to an overtime line item. So some are more difficult to track, but we can definitely do that. Like example being the Sunflower Festival, that did take place primarily on a weekend. So those costs are, you know, a little more visible for what we spent in terms of labor and so forth. But keep in mind as well, a lot of that preparation is leading up during the normal schedule during the week. But if there are events that you want a rundown of, I'm happy to provide that. You know, if you want to look at the whole picture and see, you know, maybe, you know, what seems to stick. So so.
Because I think to go back and try to pull some of this data would be about impossible, just as you're saying with absorbing the daily work schedules.
Right,
But
right. I mean,
if
you
we
can
start
get
a
pretty
process to
close.
where when someone is a Parks and Rec employee today is working an 8-hour day,
Yeah.
but 3 of those hours were dedicated to an event, they can document it at the time. It's hard to go back and get any of that, but as
Yeah.
we're going from this point forward,
Well, and I think most of all, we're concerned about, you know, what are we paying them, you know, maybe from 5 PM to 8 PM? What are those costs, if I'm understanding you correctly?
My only comment would be, you know, I've been associated with the town for 17 years, we've had events for 17 years. Don't provide the analysis for me, don't look at me or anything. I think it goes fine, this is what the director said she needed, I mean, doing a good job, everybody seems to think that. It's a kind of a multi-lateral position with a lot of different other duties assigned. The council people want to see what we do in events and all that, I think they're a fine job, keep it up, I mean, that's all I need to know. Parks director wants this, sounds like a good thing, what Stephanie said, already kind of doing it, that's all I need to know.
I just would like to have an event coordinator, maybe she could assist us in events as well.
I'm sorry, what was that?
National Night Out, maybe this event coordinator could also assist the police department.
Y'all do wonderful.
Well, and I think what the chief is alluding to, and all of the prep time, and the need for this position is so that we have a primary focused person who's doing a lot of the prep work. Yes, you will see them at these events, but what we understand from Jennifer and from Ryan was that behind the scenes, they are having to dedicate a lot of their time months in advance to all of
Communication,
these.
correspondence, emails.
Correct,
set
to
up,
all of these
that.
events. So this should give council a better reflection of how much actual time is being dedicated to a lot of that advanced work for these events, where, you know.
and could we apply TOT money to that time? If we can identify it as that, where I'm just guessing, that probably in the past, there's a lot of prep work that's put into an event that doesn't get funded through TOT dollars, it's just funded out of town budget, that could actually have been applied if it was tracked correctly and documented, other than money's just like the day of an event, you know, or the entertainment that was, you know, purchased.
And I think what Jason had indicated in the correspondence that Councilwoman Lillard referred to, I think that time, those efforts can be attributed to TOT money. And so we've never, our park budget is over $1 million. Our TOT money is $450,000, and a lot of that is a significant increase, particularly due to the number of short-term rentals that we have in town now. We've never had, there's never been we really do need to itemize where we're spending the TOT, because a lot of what our parks do as far as field prep for a number of our softball events, the time that they put in advance and day of all of our events, the money that we contract out for fireworks, music, things of that nature, historically have exceeded the $400,000, the TOT money that we've received. But definitely what I'm hearing is we will do a better job specifically with this person to track the time, to get a better figure for council of how much we spend on each of the events, just so that you know what's going on, and we're able to better communicate with you and our citizens about what we're doing to make Luray a better place.
I mean, I trust Jim with their decision here, but I'm always hesitant anytime I see an admin position, because that's a thinker instead of a doer in some regards, right? I'm an admin guy, so I'm not bashing anything, but it's one step removed from the practical doing of something, right? So
I would
no,
add
well, hold on, let me finish my thought. Sorry, I'm very sick. Yeah, but, so we have to define value differently, and I do see where this position can add value. I know, Jason, you said you don't wanna, mix any events, but it is good to get a fresh set of eyes on that, take an honest assessment of it. If we're spending $5,000 for an event attended by a small handful of people,
if you need to know.
Well, maybe we reallocate that into something else that's gonna bring out more people, so it does add more value for the town and for the citizens. Because if people aren't attending it, it's because it's not adding value to their lives, so I can see the value here.
Well, and I think what this position, and I would hope that what we will be able to do with this position, since this position will be attending most all of our events, they will be able to better track the attendance. They'll be able to say, okay, there was actually 100, 150, and we've had, there's a couple of the Evening on Main concerts where we draw a lot of people. There's some events that we don't draw as many people, but, so I think what I'm hearing is that this position will be in a better position to track the metrics so that we can report back to you, trending of how many people were attending these different events, and then the associated costs, so that you'll have a better feel for the cost benefit.
And I will say, I do appreciate, again, and I think we discussed this last time, the way they wrote the position also includes very many doer duties, operates light equipment to include mowers, tractors, similar equipment, hand tools, assists with building and grounds maintenance, vehicle and equipment maintenance, also the really good section about up to 30 pounds, physically demanding work, and of course you can't forget irate citizens. So I think this, in many ways, this will cover the same ground as the position that they already have, and I think the reclassification with some additional points that might help us with some of the things that we're discussing on reporting, I think that's wise, and I would like to make a motion. Let me find out that's written. I move that town council approve and authorize the reclassification of one of the Parks and Recreation Department's tradesman positions to an event and marketing coordinator classification as presented.
Okay, council, any discussion?
I will add a point of discussion, which is on just general budget-related thoughts. I know we had talked, Mr. Crispin had said this, we could start integrating really robust kind of budget look-aheads in the future budget years to see where our potential, growth areas we need to be thinking about, what are the fires that are gonna pop up, future infrastructure, whatever it is. I think that's really wise, and I would love to implement that going into the coming year's budget cycle. And then also, I think there are things allowed in the state law in terms of revenue that we haven't done, that we've chosen not to do in the past, that would be, 100% leverage toward tourism and would produce significant revenue. So I think we've got a lot of things to think about, but I really want to +1 the budget look ahead, because I think that'd be really wise.
Anybody else?
So, we'll pass them right now. Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Ms. Lord? Yes. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes.
I don't guess we need to wait for Joey.
Say abstain.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Burke, Tree Beautification Committee report?
Yes, sir. Last item for council's consideration tonight is a request to reappoint to the Tree and Beautification Committee Susan Zorn, Laney Vickers, and Joshua Main for terms which would expire December 31st, 2026.
They've done a great job. The spiders were a great surprise, but a lot deeper than that. I would like to make a motion. I move the town council reappoint Susan Zorn, Lane Vickers, and Joshua Main to the Tree and Beautification Committee, whose terms expire December 31, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Daniel?
Mr. Webb?
Yes.
Mr. Vickers?
Yes.
Ms. Lord?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Pettit?
Yes. Tree beautification.
Oh, yes.
All right, Mr. Bobby, do you have anything for us?
I don't have anything there, thank you.
All right, thank you for being here this evening. Council, anything you want to bring up?
They did bring up the concerns with the rise around housing and just being at BML and the VRLI program that Stephanie and I did. We learned a lot about housing, got to interact with people from Virginia housing really closely. And they have some wonderful grants that will fund you to do a really specific market study specific to the town, which I know regional studies are just like the planning district, different things, but I know nothing like that just for Luray. So I think we ought to examine those opportunities because again, more information never hurts and specific local information definitely doesn't hurt.
How would you go about that?
I can inquire with some of the people that I got info from. Absolutely.
We did the ADUs a few months ago, and this year will be my last term on council. So I've got, as a full-time planner, I got some ideas we're gonna bring forward, 2024. Alex and I have talked about in the car ride down. So just expecting some friendly advice on things that maybe Luray could do to encourage affordable housing. So we'll get those ideas out sometime beginning of 2024.
Thank you, Lee. Anybody else? I guess my comments, you all may know the memorial service for Luray VA is this Saturday, I think from 2 to 4. I don't know.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I think it's just a kind of a drop-in thing. I think
Oh.
is what it is. Correct on that. I want to congratulate Alex and Stephanie for graduating from the Virginia World Leaders Institute. Congratulations. I hope everyone's sent the reservation in for the Christmas dinner, which will be the 2nd. Right, Daniel?
Yes.
And do you have everybody?
I think I have all of council, so I think we're good.
Of course, when is the parade?
I believe it's the 14th.
Yeah, I believe so, that Thursday.
Is it 14th?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Christmas tree lighting is on the 1st. We need to decide if we want to have a work session in November. That will be on the 28th. It would be the week after Thanksgiving this year. It usually falls during Thanksgiving. Looking ahead in December, normally, I think the work session will be on the 25th, so I don't think we want to have that. So I would say right now we go ahead and continue to just leave the work session on the schedule. We can always cancel things. But
28th?
November 28th.
28th. Yes.
I'm looking at December.
Not really, but again, you never know what's going to pop up. It's easy to cancel it.
From a staff perspective, well, the town is closed half-day on the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and that's usually when we're doing the prep for your agendas. So, I'm saying I don't know of a pressing item to be included, and I.
It's only on a few days to formulate an agenda.
Yeah, I say council sounds like a great idea.
I'm not locking you up, whatever.
We can cover the material in that November work session.
No, that's the one we're
That
canceling.
is the
That's the one we're canceling.
December.
I thought we were canceling the Christmas one, I was like.
Well, no, we definitely cancel that one. Okay, yeah. So then our next meeting will be December, what is it, 7th?
11th.
Thanks.
The 11th?
And that'll be our last meeting of the year. I think that's all I have. Anybody else have anything? Well, thank you all. We're adjourned.